Welcome to the Myths and Legends channel. Today we embark on a fascinating and dark journey through one of the greatest masterpieces of world literature, Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. Written in 1321, this work not only reflected the worldview of medieval man, but also created an entire universe of ideas about the afterlife, filled with philosophical reflections, morality, and spiritual quests. Dante presented his unique vision of hell, dividing it into 9 circles. Each of these circles was created for specific types of sins and their consequences. It is truly a grand allegory of the human soul, showing how moral and spiritual choices shape one's fate. Although nearly 700 years have passed since the poem was written, it continues to captivate and intrigue readers, making them ponder the meaning of life, sin, and redemption. So, prepare yourselves as we begin our journey through this terrifying and gripping universe, where the souls of sinners suffer for their earthly wrongdoings. Each circle of hell is a separate world, filled with suffering and horrors reflecting the inner vices and weaknesses of human nature. The main character of the work is Dante himself, who in the poem serves as an allegory of the human soul, searching for the path to salvation. At the beginning of the story, he finds himself in a deep crisis, symbolically lost in a dark forest. This forest is not just a physical place, but a metaphor for the state of the hero's soul. Dante describes it as a dense and gloomy forest, full of fear and uncertainty, where he experiences a deep sense of despair. The narrative begins with the hero realizing that he has strayed from the path of righteousness. On his journey, Dante encounters 3 beasts, each symbolizing certain human sins. The leopard represents lust and carnal pleasures, the lion stands for pride and arrogance, and the she-wolf embodies greed and avarice. These creatures block Dante's way out of the forest, highlighting the idea that human sins can trap a person in the snare of their own vices. Just when it seems there is no way out, Dante is approached by a majestic figure, the spirit of the ancient Roman poet Virgil. Virgil symbolizes reason and wisdom, as well as the classical heritage of ancient philosophy and literature. Virgil offers Dante not just a way out of the dark forest, but something far more significant, a fascinating and terrifying journey through hell and purgatory, with paradise awaiting at the end. Dante agrees to this challenging trial, learning that Virgil was sent by Beatrice, his beloved who had died at a young age. This news fills him with resolve and prompts him to follow his guide, despite the inevitable suffering that lies ahead. Together they head toward the entrance to hell. Before them, the massive gates of the underworld open, bearing the ominous inscription, "Abandon all hope, you enter here." These words imply that there is no turning back, and those who cross this threshold lose all hope of salvation. Dante understands that only pain and punishment lie ahead, but he resolves to continue his path in search of truth and redemption. When they step into the realm of hell, a heart-wrenching sight unfolds before them. The souls of those who, in life, committed neither great good deeds nor heinous crimes are in a state of torment. These unfortunate souls are doomed to wander restlessly, deprived of peace, because they failed to choose between good and evil. Among them are angels who, when faced with the choice between God and the devil, remained neutral and never made a decision. These souls and angels symbolize a meaningless existence without moral choice, for which they were condemned to eternal suffering. After passing by these sufferers, the travelers encounter the majestic and terrifying river Acheron. The first circle of hell, known as Limbo, is a place where the souls of those who, despite their virtues, were not baptized or belonged to other religions, reside. This circle is guarded by Charon, the fierce ferryman who directs souls to different parts of hell. In Limbo, the souls of innocent, unbaptized infants, as well as great heroes, sages, and poets of antiquity languish. Among them is Virgil himself, Dante's guide. These people committed no sins, but since they did not know the Christian God, they cannot enter paradise. Although these souls do not suffer physical torture, their fate is eternal sorrow and longing. They are aware that they are forever deprived of divine grace, and this realization becomes their primary torment. Together with Virgil, Dante walks among these souls, encountering legendary figures such as Homer, Aristotle, and Julius Caesar. Their conversations are filled with wisdom, but also with inevitable bitterness, for even the greatest minds of antiquity could not escape this fate. Descending further into the second circle of hell, the travelers meet the fearsome King Minos, judge of the dead. He stands as a gatekeeper and performs the critical task of passing judgment on each soul based on its sins, directing it to the appropriate circle of hell. Minos, with the demeanor of a just yet stern judge, wraps his tail around the souls and determines which circle they are to be sent to. Before each sinner, terrifying prospects of their future existence unfold. In the second circle of hell reside the souls of those who, in life, succumb to lust and carnal desires. Here, Cleopatra, Helen of Troy, Semiramis, and other historical figures, who became symbols of passionate sins. As punishment for their earthly passions, they are condemned to whirl forever in a wild, furious hurricane. This unrelenting storm hurls them with great force, with no chance of respite or peace, dashing them against the rocks. The constant chaos and restlessness they endure reflect their inability to find inner peace and tranquility due to the sinful passions they lived by in life. In the third circle of hell, chaos reigns, and its guardian is the fearsome Cerberus, a three-headed beast resembling a wild dog. Cerberus fiercely guards this circle, where the souls of those who indulged in gluttony during their lives are trapped. Their chief sin was excessive indulgence in their desires for food and drink, and now they pay for it. The punishment for these souls is that they are forced to wallow in the mud under an endless rain and hailstorm. This ceaseless downpour symbolizes the insatiable greed for pleasure they indulged in during life. But the glutton's suffering doesn't end there. Cerberus tears at them with his enormous jaws, endlessly devouring and ripping apart their flesh, just as they once knew no limits in their consumption. Moving forward, Dante and Virgil enter the fourth circle of hell, ruled by the demon Plutus. This circle is reserved for the souls of the avaricious and the prodigal, whose primary sins were greed and reckless handling of wealth. Among them can be found even clergy who, in life, either hoarded riches or squandered resources carelessly. The punishment for these souls is that they are forced to push heavy stones uphill, meeting other sufferers at the summit. When they meet, their strength is spent, and they collide with each other, causing the stones to roll back down, forcing them to begin their task again. This endless cycle reflects their sinful drive for hoarding or squandering, which never brought them satisfaction, and now they are doomed to repeat this futile labor for eternity. Leaving the fourth circle, Dante and Virgil descend into the fifth circle of hell, which has become the final resting place for those whose principal sins were wrath and sloth. This circle consists of a vast, swampy Styx, where the souls of sinners are condemned to eternal suffering. Those consumed by anger in life now endlessly fight each other, immersed in the filthy waters of the swamp. Their rage never ceases, and they are doomed to useless battles, symbolizing their inability to control their emotions in earthly life. At the bottom of this foul swamp lie the souls of those who were gripped by sloth during their lives. These souls, having lost all strength and will, lie motionless beneath the mud, unable to rise. Their inactivity and passivity cause their eternal imprisonment in this formless swamp, where they are condemned to helplessness and oblivion. The guardian of the fifth circle is Phleges, the ferryman of souls across the sinister Styx swamp. This grim demon aids the travelers in crossing the dark waters, bringing them to their next trials. Upon Dante and Virgil's request, Phleges agrees to ferry them across the swamp to the towering walls of the city of Dis, a massive fortress stretching across the horizon. When they reach the tower at the fortress, they face a barrier. Fiends and the dead block their way and refuse to let them enter the city. Here, a heavenly messenger or herald of divine will comes to their aid. He descends from the heavens to subdue the fiends and open the path for Dante and Virgil. Thanks to the intervention of this divine force, the gates of the city of Dis swing open, and the heroes continue their perilous journey through hell. As Dante and Virgil enter the grim city of Dis, a horrifying sight unfolds before them. Everywhere, tombs engulfed in flames tower above the ground. From these blazing sepulchres, agonizing moans and cries of tormented souls can be heard. This is the sixth circle of hell, the place for heretics and false teachers, those who denied divine truths or led others astray. Their punishment is to be trapped within fiery graves, where they burn eternally, suffering unbearable torment for their earthly sins. Guarding this circle are three fearsome furies: Tisiphone, Megara, and Alecto. These ancient spirits of vengeance embody wrath and darkness, keeping watch over the suffering souls, ensuring they find no escape from their fiery tombs. When the travelers reach the edge of the sixth circle and prepared to descend further, Virgil explained to Dante how the last three circles of hell are arranged. These circles grow progressively darker and more brutal as they near the very center of the earth, where Lucifer himself resides. These circles are reserved for those whose sins were rooted in violence, deceit, and betrayal. The seventh circle of hell stretches among harsh mountains and is guarded by the fierce Minotaur, a creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull, symbolizing cruelty and savagery. Here Dante and Virgil encountered a bloody, boiling river where the souls of tyrants, murderers, and bandits suffer. These sinners, whose lives were filled with violence and cruelty, are now condemned to be forever submerged in the boiling blood, symbolizing the merciless acts they committed. The more blood they shed in life, the deeper their souls sink into this dreadful river. On the shores of the bloody river, the travelers were met by centaurs armed with bows. They mercilessly shot arrows at the souls submerged in the river, preventing them from escaping the raging current. One of the centaurs, named Nessus, offered his help to Dante and Virgil. He guided them across the river, taking on the role of a guide in this terrifying place. As they continued their journey, the travelers found themselves in a grim region where they encountered thorny bushes, devoid of leaves or life. These bushes, as it turned out, were none other than the souls of suicides. Their torment was not limited to being transformed into lifeless plants. Harpies, hellish birds, tore them apart with their claws and beaks, causing endless suffering. In addition, dead souls mercilessly ran through the thickets, trampling on them, adding even more pain to these tormented souls. Also suffering here were those who squandered their wealth and fortune through gambling and reckless behavior in life. They are now condemned to run endlessly from ferocious hunting dogs, which relentlessly pursue them across these barren lands. Their punishment is endless flight and fear, with no chance of salvation or respite. Further on, they saw blasphemers, sodomites, and those who had neglected art and creativity during their lives. These souls are doomed to suffer in a lifeless desert covered with scorching sand. Above them, an eternal rain of fire falls, offering neither peace nor shelter. Each drop of flame inflicts unbearable agony, and they writhe under this tormenting rain, realizing that their sins have become their eternal fate. Having completed their journey through this dark circle, Virgil led Dante to a deep chasm, which leads to the eighth circle of hell, a place of even more brutal and sinister suffering, awaiting those who committed the most cunning and treacherous sins. To the very depths of hell, Dante and Virgil were carried by the terrifying demon Geryon, a creature with the face of a man, the body of a serpent, and the tail of a scorpion. His task was to lower them into the eighth circle of hell, which is divided into 10 deep ditches, known as Malabulge. In each of these ditches, the souls of sinners are punished, each suffering for their particular form of wickedness. In the first ditch, the souls of panderers and seducers are tormented. They are condemned to run endlessly, pursued and whipped by demons, never knowing rest. Their punishment is eternal pain for manipulating others for their own gain. In the second ditch are the flatterers. These souls are brutally beaten by horned demons, with no chance to escape the blows. Furthermore, they are submerged in a disgusting fluid resembling excrement, emitting an unbearable stench. This vile stream symbolizes the filth and deceit of their words, with which they sought to please others in life. The third ditch is paved with stone, where round holes gape open everywhere. From these holes protrude the legs of those who practice simony, the selling of church offices. Their bodies are trapped in stone pits, while their feet are engulfed in flames, causing them unbearable suffering. This circle of hell is filled with the agony of those who exploited the sacred for personal gain. The fourth ditch is reserved for soothsayers, astrologers, and sorcerers. Their punishment is that their necks are twisted in such a way that they can no longer look forward and are forced to see only their past lives, weeping and soaking their backs with tears. Their suffering symbolizes their futile attempts to look into the future and predict fate, for which they are now condemned to gaze only backward. The fifth ditch is filled with boiling tar, where corrupt politicians and swindlers hide. From time to time, winged demons snatch them from the tar, only to plunge them back in repeatedly, never allowing them to emerge. Their punishment represents the sticky, corrupt nature of their sins, bribery, and deceit. In the sixth ditch, hypocrites suffer under the weight of heavy leaden but gilded robes. They are forced to move slowly under the unbearable weight of their garments, which symbolize their lies and duplicity in life. The gilding of the robes indicates their hypocritical appearance, while the lead inside reflects the burden of their hidden vices. As they journey through the eighth circle, Dante and Virgil encounter a horrifying sight. They see a crucified high priest, the very one who played a key role in condemning Jesus Christ. His suffering is eternal retribution for his actions, and he will forever serve as an example of the greatest sin of betrayal. After a difficult passage through rocky terrain, Dante and Virgil arrived in the seventh ditch of the eighth circle of hell. Here, thieves endure constant torment from the poisonous bites of serpent-like monsters. When a serpent bites them, their bodies disintegrate into dust, only to regenerate moments later, forcing them to experience this horror over and over again. This endless destruction and reformation reflect the nature of their sins, theft, and deceit, which, like venom, destroy everything around them. As they continue forward, the travelers arrive at the 8th ditch, where fraudulent counselors are punished. These souls suffer for deceiving others with their cunning, misleading people, and ruining lives. Their punishment reflects their sins. They burn in flames, hidden in the fire of their own deceitful words. The next, 9th ditch, is the place of suffering for the sowers of discord and strife. Here, a demon torments them with a heavy sword, mutilating their bodies, cutting off noses, ears, and splitting skulls. These torments mirror the destruction they brought to the world in life by spreading hatred and hatred. In the 10th ditch are the false witnesses and counterfeiters. The false witnesses know no peace. They run in circles, consumed by rage, and attack everyone they meet, biting and tearing at the other souls. Their spirits are filled with the same lies and fury that they spread in life. The counterfeiters suffer from terrible physical and mental agony. Their bodies are disfigured with dropsy. They have swollen beyond recognition and are tormented by an unbearable thirst. Forever thirsty, they are unable to quench it, no matter how hard they try. Finally, Dante and Virgil arrive at the well that leads them even deeper to the final, 9th circle of hell. This circle is guarded by the ancient titans Briareus, Antaeus, and Ephialtes. Giant figures loom over the heroes, instilling awe. Descending to the very bottom of the underworld, they are met with the sight of a frozen lake, Cocytus. Here in the hardened waters are imprisoned the souls of traitors, those who betrayed their closest loved ones. They are motionless, frozen in eternal torment, with no hope of escape or warmth. At the very center of this icy lake stands Lucifer, the ruler of hell, three-faced and deformed. Each of his faces represents the ultimate forms of betrayal. From his 3 enormous mouths protrude the greatest traitors in history. In one is Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Christ, and in the other 2 are Brutus and Cassius, the conspirators who killed Caesar. Lucifer endlessly chews their bodies, tearing them apart with his claws. Their suffering is eternal, as is their betrayal, and they remain forever trapped in this icy prison. Judas Iscariot suffers the most, symbolizing the most heinous act of treachery. Lucifer, holding him in his mouth, continues to torment him endlessly. Dante and Virgil notice a tunnel leading out from hell toward the surface of the opposite hemisphere of the earth. With great difficulty, Dante and Virgil make their way through this narrow passage, and at last they emerge to the surface, where they are greeted by the light of the heavens. Thus their terrifying and vivid journey through the circles of hell comes to an end. Now, looking back on what has been seen, one might say that perhaps things in our world aren't as bad as they seem. Let's hope no one ever has to face such torments, for as it turns out, it's all too easy to end up in hell. That's all for today. Thank you for watching my videos all the way to the end. To make sure you don't miss any new episodes, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications about fresh videos. The best way to support the channel is by giving it a like and leaving a comment. We have many more exciting stories ahead. See you soon on the Myths and Legends channel. Until next time.